Hi, I'm John Stevenson, and we're going to be looking at Psalm 13, a prayer for God's presence. The psalm begins with a superscription for the choir director, a psalm of David, very short superscription. And now the psalm proper, if I can call it that, begins with a question. Here's the question: How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart all the day? How long will my enemy be exalted over me? You can see the repetition. Are we there yet? How long is this going to be? The writer, the psalmist, is in a dark place. He doesn't want to be there. He knows there's coming an end, but how long is it going to be? How long before this period, this dark period, finally comes to a close? What's interesting is the how longs. Notice the first how long is upward, directed toward God. How long will you forget me? Are you going to forget me forever? And then the second one is more inward. How long will you hide your face from me? But how long will I take counsel in my soul? That's an inward looking sort of thing. And then finally, there's an outward reflection when he asks, how long will my enemy be exalted over me? And so enemies maybe are easy to take if you have the sense that the Lord hasn't forgotten, that the Lord's with you, that he is your defender and counselor. The psalm continues, verse 3, and this is the supplication: Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. So he asks God to consider, to answer, to enlighten. He says, Enlighten my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death. This is not just where he's feeling blue for a day. He's feeling like life is not just getting to him, but it's coming to a close. That he is ready to abandon all life. Now we're not given his specific circumstances, and because we're not given the specific circumstances, that's actually a little helpful. That means we can apply it to our own situations very very easily. And so he asks God, consider, answer, enlighten. He continues, verse 4, and my enemy will say, I have overcome him, and my adversary. So notice the that which is against him has taken on a face. We're not told the face, but it's taken on a face, and it has multiplied. Notice my enemy, that's singular. My adversaries, that's plural. They will rejoice when I am shaken. And so there's this conflict going on. There are those that are against him, and he wants to know that God is for him. We come to the end of this short little psalm, verses 5 and 6. But I have trusted in your loving kindness, and he's affirming his faith in spite of the enemies, in spite of the sense where he feels that God is just out of touch. His prayers maybe aren't going past the ceiling. He says, "But I have trusted in your loving kindness." Notice that phrase though, that loving kindness. We need to pause and look at that word. It's the Hebrew word chesed. We're going to see that a lot, both in the Old Testament, but especially here in the Psalms. We normally translate that loyalty. It has a wide range of different meanings depending on the context, but I think that the translation that fits the most often is the idea of loyalty. Sometimes it's been described as faith and love and grace, and that's okay. I think loyalty fits the most. It's often given freely, often without obligation. And the Septuagint, that's LXX stands for 70. That's just means this, the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament Hebrew text, usually translates it with the Greek word elos, which is mercy. And that fits too. I think loyalty is perhaps a bit sharper of a translation. Look at some places where the term is actually used. Abraham's request to Sarah in Genesis chapter 20 and verse 13, where he had said to her, "This is the kindness." Notice the word kindness is chesed. This is the chesed kindness which you will show to me everywhere we go. Say of me, he is my brother. This was sort of a thing to where He was afraid that he would be killed and she would be taken. And just to sort of do away with that, they had concocted this plan. It's not saying it's a good plan, it's just we're seeing the use of the term. Judges chapter 1 and verse 24, where the Israelites spies, they come across a Canaanite man coming out of one of the Canaanite city of Bethel, and they offer to, our translation says, treat him kindly. The Hebrews treat him with chesed, if he will show them the entrance to the city, and he does that, and then they let him and his family go. So they offer to treat him kindly, and they do. You also see it in 2 Samuel chapter 9 and verse 1, where David asks the question, is there yet anyone left of the house of Saul that I may show him chesed, kindness, loyalty, for Jonathan's sake? You see, he had entered into a covenant with Jonathan, and he wants to loyally keep that covenant, even though Saul and Jonathan are now dead. But he's looking for a way to repay that obligation, or I'm not sure if repay is the right word, but to embrace and to take up that obligation by showing loyalty. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 17. The merciful man, the one who shows chesed, the loyal man, does himself good, but the cruel man does himself harm. You can see where the translators thought merciful worked, and maybe it does, but still I like that loyal idea. And then finally, Proverbs 14:22, where the writer of the Proverbs says, will they not go astray who devise evil, but kindness and truth, notice kindness, but chesed and truth will be to those who devise good. All right, so we have Hesed, loving kind. I've trusted in your Hesed. I've trusted in your loving kindness, in your loyalty. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. Speaking, the psalmist is speaking to God. I will sing to the Lord because He has dealt bountifully with me. And so we come to a close. And back in verses 1 and 2, we had this question of abandonment. How long, O Lord? And then verses 3 and 4, we have the request for God to remember. And now in these closing verses, the assurance of God's loyal love, his salvation, the way he has dealt. And this reminds me of something that one of my old professors said many years ago: don't doubt in the darkness what you learned in the light. But there's a corollary to that. And I think it fits here in this psalm. That's when it looks dark, sing about the light.